What is going on, Jet fans? Matt O'Leary back with another video on this Sunday. The Jets are off today. Last week we did a stock up, stock down on Sunday when the Jets were off. Today, I think I'm going to give my 53-man roster prediction as we are now 2 weeks through training camp. Okay, we will start on the offensive side of the ball. I think the Jets are carrying two quarterbacks, Justin Fields, Tyrod Taylor. No surprise there. I would imagine Brady Cook practice squad. Maybe Adrian Martinez the same at that point, but for when it comes to the actual roster itself, I'd be surprised if the Jets carry three. I think they just stick with two. At running back, I have the Jets carrying four, Hall, Allen, Davis as the main runners, and then Kene and Nwanwu, who's really a special teamer. I think he makes it as the kick returner, and he's been okay in training camp as a running back. Maybe gets a couple carries during the regular season. I wouldn't count on it, but he is definitely someone who I think makes the team because of his special teams prowess. Now, this next one's a little bit out there. Not everyone has him on their 53-man roster prediction. I guess that makes everyone's unique, which I really like. But Andrew Beck, I have making the team. The fullback, one can play tight end if need be. And I don't have the Jets carrying four tight ends, so that's one part. The other part is they're going to be a run-heavy team. I don't think it's a bad idea to carry a fullback. Now, you could argue that Braylon Allen could serve as like a fullback, but I think, I had enough spots to where I felt comfortable with adding Andrew Beck on this roster. Now, wide receiver, I have the Jets carrying six. Garrett Wilson, Josh Reynolds, Tyler Johnson, Allen Lazard, Arian Smith, and Jamal Pritchett. Pritchett makes the team because of the special teams prowess, some notable cuts. At that point, Brandon Smith, practice squad guy, I think, for the Jets. He's had a strong camp. But based on how my roster broke, I wanted to keep Pritchett instead because of the special teams prowess. Xavier Gipson and Malachi Corley also don't make the cut. I would love to find a spot for Malachi Corley. I just don't feel overly confident that he's going to make the team. Hopefully I'm wrong on that, though, because I don't like the idea of just lighting a third-round pick on fire from a year ago, but I am having a hard time finding him a roster spot as of right now. Tight ends, three, pretty easy. Mason Taylor, Jeremy Ruckert, Stone Smart as the three. I have the Jets carrying nine offensive linemen, Olu Fashanu, John Simpson, Joe Tittman, Elijah Vera Tucker, Armand Membu, Chuck Okorafor as depth, Josh Myers, Max Mitchell, and Xavier Newman. The notable cut at that point would be Carter Warren, who was a fourth-round pick a couple of years ago. Don't think he has enough to make this team. Defense, let's get to the defensive side of the ball. We'll start with the line. I have the Jets carrying nine defensive linemen, Will McDonald, Byron Cowart, Quinnen Williams, as well, Jermaine Johnson, Michael Clemens, Barron Weaver, Leonard Taylor, and Peyton Page as the last guy at number 9. So Derek Nottie does not make the cut. Eric Watts, Braden McGregor also does not make the cut. It's hard to narrow the defensive line down, but I thought Peyton Page has had a strong camp, and he's a UDFA, right? A UDFA always seems to make the team. I think Peyton Page has stood out definitely on the interior, and when you look at someone like Derek Nottie, he really hasn't stood out. And I know, initially early on, many thought he was going to be the one who's going to end up starting next to Quinnen Williams. It seems like Byron Cowart is going to play in that role. Linebacker, 5 linebackers, Quincy Williams, Jamian Sherwood, Jamin Davis, Kiko Mauingoa, and Zaire Barnes are the 5. Cornerback, I end up carrying 7, and I'll explain why in a second. Sauce Stevens, Carter II, A.Z. Thomas, Isaiah Oliver, Stiggers, and Boyd. Boyd really makes a team for special teams. I think he's essentially going to be their special teams ace. They brought him in free agency. I don't expect him to play a ton at corner, but I do think he plays a role on special teams. I wanted to keep Quantez Stiggers. JBC, unfortunately, I don't have making the team. That's another notable cut for me. Safety, I have the Jets carrying 4, Andre Sisco, Malachi Moore, Tony Adams, and Jarius Monroe. Jarius Monroe was a UDFA a year ago. I think he's another one who's had a strong camp. Safety's been really interesting to watch. I think the top 3 have definitely done enough, obviously, to make the roster, and I would argue Malachi Moore's done enough to be a starter. Tony Adams is the third safety I feel okay about, and then Monroe at that point rounds out the defense. Special teams guys, long snapper Thomas Hennessy makes the team there. there. Kicker is going to be Nick Folk, and I have the punter as McNamara as well. Looking at the returners with no Xavier Gibson, I think we see Nwanu as the kick returner. I think Pritchett ends up being the punt returner. Again, some notable cuts for me. Malachi Corley, Brandon Smith, Carter Warren, Jarek Bernard Converse, and Derek Noddy. So that's where I'm at right now with the 53-man roster. Curious to see where you guys are. Let me know in the comments down below. I'm Matt O'Leary, and I'll catch you next time.